Monday morning. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Morning Buzz. First things first, I got to get some housekeeping things out of the way. Yes, our transmitter is down. Cities 92.9. On Friday, our transmitter went down. We are on a backup transmitter, so you should be able to get the broadcast in some areas or mainly in Bloomington Normal, I've noticed. So if you live in Gridley, El Paso, Lexington, some of these smaller communities on the outside of Bloomington Normal, then you might not get the broadcast. You might not get the frequency. However, there's all kinds of ways to listen on Cities 92.9. I've been trying to tell all of us this for some time because transmitters do go out sometimes. And the most reliable way right now to listen would be at cities929.com. There's a big button, and you can hit the button. It's called Listen Live. And I think it's orange. I think it's orange, and you hit the orange button and you can listen live from the web address cities929.com, or you can download the app, which is at the App Store Cities929, and you can do that on your Android or Apple. However, if you have an older phone, if you have like an older smartphone, it might not be compatible with your phone, depending on how old your phone is. So still, you can listen online anywhere from a desktop, from a phone. I know it's an inconvenience. We're working on it. So we're trying to get the transmitter back up. We're on a backup transmitter right now. But as always, I am live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. You can see me live and hear the show live from those social media platforms. This is why we have so many different ways to listen here at cities929.com. You have no idea what could happen to your frequency at any time. So we have tried to create all kinds of different channels for you to pick up Cities 929 Cities 92.9. So be sure to listen. Anyway, if you need help, go ahead and text the number 309-451-9299. We've got so much to get to today. I didn't even prep this, but I am definitely going to talk about this, the Maui fires. People are going to stop talking about that this week, probably. Nobody's going to tell you about how this equity obsessed Hawaiian official, how he left as a director. He was in this position and he waited 5 hours to release water during the Maui wildfire. So I was looking on Gab, I was looking on Twitter, and I saw a lot of Maui locals talking about how they were trying to put out the fires in their homes, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have water. More than 1,000 people are still reported missing. The death toll just continues to climb. And this equity obsessed Hawaiian official, he came under mass scrutiny. Like, people were very upset with this dude because he was the guy behind delaying the release of water. Oh, what? Why? We're going to get to that here coming up in just a little bit. But first, I do want to talk about Joe Biden for getting the name of the island, uh, Maui, while he was discussing the Maui wildfire. He forgot the name of the island. That should tell you that he does not care about those people at all. Next, I do want to talk about egg producer Megyn Kelly, egg producer. She came under fire because she was on Twitter and she was attacking Rachel Levine. And Megyn Kelly, she just gives this 5-word response and she proves that she is not backing down from this fight. We've got Rachel Levine out there wanting to call women, and I'm quoting her, egg producers. They want to erase women and call them egg producers. Disgusting. Also, a little bit later, there's this comedian. He's claiming that he has solved who brought the cocaine into the White House, and it's the guy who had hookers snort coke off of his body part. So, this comedian, he gets out there and he starts, making the assumption, or well, he has a suspect in mind who could have brought the cocaine into the White House. This is the Morning Buzz, as always, live in studio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Let's get into it. Joe Biden forgetting the name of the island that is going through all kinds of tragedy right now. They're suffering, and he just forgot the name of the actual island. Now, Joe Biden is on vacation again. As of yesterday, I think he went on vacation, but before he left for vacation again, and you should know that he has spent a third of his time as president on vacation. Before he left this time, he was praising this FEMA director. His name's Michael Brown. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, he did a heck of a job in responding to Hurricane Katrina." No, just kidding. That's the wrong natural disaster, Joe. Joe, this is Maui. We're talking about Maui. So he was discussing the Maui wildfires and he was praising this FEMA director, and he forgot the word Maui, or at least seemingly forgot the word Maui. Once enough of us right wingers have too much fun about, talking about how he's an idiot for forgetting the name Maui, the independent fact checkers, they're going to be out there clacking away on their keyboards, and they're going to be deployed, and they're telling us, actually Joe meant to say this. Until then, let's take a listen to what he actually said. I'm sure that the independent fact checkers are going to fact check me on this one and say that he didn't forget the name of the island, but he did. Here we go.
The Army helicopters held fire suppression and efforts on the Big Island because there's still some burning on the Big Island, not the one where you see on television all the time. The Army helicopters held fire suppression and efforts on the Big Island because there's still some burning on the Big Island, not the one where you...
On the Big Island. On the Big Island. Oh, Joe. Joe Biden, his latest brain fart. Hey, at least, folks, am I right, folks? At least he said something more than no comment. At least he finally got out there and said something. So here is his latest brain fart, and the Post Millennial, they flagged this brain fart, and they were trying to be fair to President Putinhead over here, and they acknowledged, quote, from the Post Millennial, Biden did refer to the island earlier in the speech as Maui. It was just at this moment his mouth released the word. He couldn't find the word Maui. His brain couldn't think of it. His brain really was just too busy thinking meow 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 meow. Like, sometimes when I look at Joe Biden, sitting there behind the podium, I think that his brain is going meow 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 meow. Like, what's going on up there, really? Of course, at this press conference, he bragged about how he gave people in Maui, the households per household, $700, to rebuild their entire life on the island of Hawaii, which is the cost of living is astronomical, and $700 isn't going to do jack diddly squat. But he also forgot to mention that he gave the people of Ukraine it totals $2,500 per person. He's given $113 billion. And in that week of the wildfires, the week after the wildfires, he gave $200 million to Ukraine on that Monday. And then he gave $1.9 million to Maui. Yeah. So also there, he was signing this bipartisan infrastructure for Fugadishan, pressure, bipartisan spaghetti sandwich. I don't know, because he really couldn't get the words out of what kind of bill he was signing. I think it was some sort of infrastructure bill, but we still don't know. Joe Biden is a public appearance away from telling the American people, and mark my words, for whatever reason, I'm sure he's going to look at the American people during a public appearance and say, I like cheese. I like cheese. There is nothing going on upstairs. The people on the Big Island, you see, on TV, they had no comment for Joe Biden's latest gaffe because they didn't get to see it because they have no electricity. So they couldn't even really see what Joe Biden was saying and how terribly he flubbed up the word Maui and how he couldn't remember the word Maui. You see, the people of Maui couldn't even see that he had something other than a no comment to give because they don't have TV. They have no electricity. He still has yet to go there. I'm pretty sure he hasn't even gone there yet. I've been looking and I haven't been able to see if he's even gone there in person. He should be on the ground. He should be sifting through the cinders, the ashes with those people trying to rebuild that community. And he's just not doing it. Okay, so do want to shift gears. The great mystery of this summer revolved around a bag of cocaine found in the White House. Whose cocaine was it and how did it get there? We'll never know for sure because the Secret Service, uh, whose job it was to protect the president, and it kind of makes me think that the Secret Service can't really do their job because if they can't find out who brought in, if they can't even find out who brought in a little tiny bag of coke or like a dime-sized bag of coke, then how are they going to be able to protect the president from ricin? How are they going to be able to protect the president from somebody bringing in things from the outside into the White House? Because that's exactly what happened here. Um, so the Secret Service, they concluded their investigation, and basically the conclusion is, we don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea who brought the coke in. Well, Rob Schneider, I think is his name. I really like him. He's in a lot. And he's a former SNL guy, and he's a comedian, and he has a suspect in mind for us, and he's going to share with us um, who that suspect is. And honestly, I think the guy has a great reason to think that, well, I'll just let you tell him or let him tell you. Here we go.
Close the case on the cocaine found at the White House. They said we may never know where this came from. We may never know who brought it here. We may never know. We must close the case. We have no idea where this could have come from, who could have left it. Yeah? Really? How about the guy that had hookers snorted off his cock? Put it on a laptop. Why don't we start there, Maybe ask him a few questions. Close the case.
Yeah, why don't we start there? Why don't we ask Hunter Biden a few questions about the cocaine in the White House? This comedian, Rob Schneider, he was referring to, of course, Joe Biden's second favorite son. It's Hunter Biden. Hunter is the son who moved into the White House this summer, and we all know that he has a drug problem. However, it needs to be said that Rob Schneider is claiming without evidence that Hunter Biden had hookers snorting blow off his dingle dangle here. The independent fact checkers have yet to find proof. They have yet to find proof that hookers were snorting blow off of Hunter's dingle dangle. Okay, he has no evidence. Rob Schneider does. Here, this comedian, and even if there was video of Hunter letting these hookers snort blow off his dingle dangle, that's probably Russian disinformation. So even if there is video evidence, I'm going to say that most likely that's Russian disinformation, and that's not true. Okay, so there are videos, however, I want to make this clear, out there of Hunter smoking crack, not hookers snorting blow off his dingle dangle, but I definitely have seen videos of Hunter smoking crack, and this was found on his laptop, and he was smoking this crack at a $75,000 detox facility. His dad paid for him to go to this detox facility, and even more embarrassing, he was crushing White Claws in this video as well. So he was like drinking White Claws back to back, and he was smoking crack. And I know it's crack because you definitely smoke crack, you don't snort crack, although it is a form of cocaine. So there's plenty of videos of Hunter and whores together and him talking about and bragging about his dad becoming the president of the United States. There's plenty of videos of that. Also, Hunter allegedly sent his dad videos of homemade porn that has nothing to do with cocaine. I just think it's hilarious. Until a reliable, legitimate news outlet reports undeniable evidence that Hunter Biden let hookers snort cocaine off his dingle dangle, we're forced to rate this comedian Rob Snyder here is bit mostly false, but probably true. I'm going to act as an independent fact checker here. All right, we have got to take a break. You're listening to The Morning Buzz. You can see me live in studio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. You can text in at 309-451-9299. Always listen on the app that's available in the App Store, on Google Play and Apple Play Store, or whatever they call it. That's all available there. You can download the app or you can listen live at cities929.com.
Why aren't you taking care of what you claim to be in charge of rather than sending out all these funds and whatever else you guys are sending to Ukraine or anywhere? Take care of here first. This, I don't see why any president wouldn't step up and take care of what's part of their, territory. I think it's a stupid move on his part. Biden, yeah, he's an idiot. Sorry. No, not sorry.
So that was a Maui local. And it's funny she goes, he's an idiot. I'm sorry, but not sorry. That's what she says. And this comes as, the locals, they were talking about this on Twitter, on Gab, on social media about how the Hawaiian officials, they withheld water uh, from the people in Maui during these wildfires, and they let these wildfires ravage on. This equity obsessed Hawaiian official, he is actually leaving his director position after waiting for 5 hours to release water during the Maui wildfires. Now, there's more than 1,000 people who are missing. The death toll continues to rise. This guy's name, Calio Manuel. He's the former deputy director of the Hawaii Commission on Water Resource Management, and he reportedly declined requests to release water to fill the island area, like their resort or reservoirs. So he declined all of those requests until after the fires had ravaged the town. So Manuel here, he waited more than 5 hours to allow that water to be made available to the Maui firefighters at the request of the West Maui Land Company. So the West Maui Land Company, they were like, dude, we really need this water. And he was like, yeah, just wait, 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 wait. And he waited 5 hours, which meant the fire had time to completely engulf the island. Now he's leaving his position here. I don't know why he waited all of that time. The West Maui Land Company said in a letter to Manuel on August 10th that his commission denied its request to reroute streams in the hard hit island area, the Lahana, I think that's how you say it, the Lahana area, to fill the landowners' reservoirs until the wildfires raged out of control. So he denied all of the requests for more water. And we watched the devastation around us without the ability to help. That's what the Maui Fire Department said. They didn't have the water. So I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like that the Hawaiian Energy Company that provides at least 95% of the island's energy. I don't like that they were given requests by the Weather Service to de-energize their power lines, but they couldn't do that, and they said that the reason why they couldn't do that is because they didn't have the infrastructure for it. Well, we come to find out that they're devoting all of this time and energy towards the renewable energy and things like that. They're trying to go off of wind and solar only, and they've devoted all of this time to that they've neglected their power lines and they weren't able to de-energize them. I don't like the it doesn't pass the sniff test for me, what's going on out here in Maui. And I really don't like that President Joe Biden has not visited Maui. He's expected, I think, today to go visit. But he has been prioritizing his personal vacations over the visit to Maui. And I'm getting pretty sick and tired of it. So if he doesn't show up today, I'm going to lose my mind. We're going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz.
worse was that these robbers then proceeded to rob more people. I'm not, I don't think you have to be some kind of neuroscience neuroscientist or something to know that those additional victims would not have been victims had the police interceded when they first saw these crimes being committed. So I'm sorry, Kat, but I need to get into these press conferences. I need to start asking these questions for whatever reason. Well, for the reasons that we've already discussed, both on and off air. Chicago reporters don't think it's, they don't want to take the risk of having, getting the William Kelly treatment, having their media credentials revoked. The city of Chicago did come back, by the way, and say that they would give me, get this, Kat, and I'm going to ask you what I should do. In fact, you know what? You'd be the perfect person to give me some real advice here. The city of Chicago, good news, has said that they will give me back my media credential and allow me to attend City Hall press conferences again, no restrictions.
Wow.
But in exchange for that, they want me to sign a release stating that I release them from any and all claims, that I will not have, that there will be no legal action against any current, past, current, or future city employees, and that I, for any damages that were caused to me, to my reputation, to my, that means, essentially what it means is that if they finally do, if we are ever able to actually get our hands on any of Lightfoot's emails back and forth between herself, her chief of staff, her press secretary, etc., regarding me and their plans to somehow strip me of my media credential, that I cannot or will not take any legal action against them. Should I just say, okay, fine, give me back my media credential, and I would.
There's something fishy going on there, William, and
yes.
that's one thing I wanted to ask you as well. And a lot of people, as independent media starts to rise, and we are going to be talking about this, folks, Tucker Carlson, and Donald Trump, they're doing an interview with each other instead of Donald Trump going to the debate. This is clearly an indication that people do not like legacy media. They don't like the spectacle of it all. They prefer independent journalism because it's honest and it's truthful and it's not backed by big corporations like BlackRock, right? Now, I would ask you, and I don't know if your attorneys are arguing this, I think the Illinois Supreme Court has said that you don't need media credentials for public spaces, obviously private spaces, but like for public spaces, like a public sidewalk or a public meeting, a meeting that's open to the public. Do you really need media credentials? And I would imagine that your attorneys are kind of working that angle of, there shouldn't even be media credentials. That's not like, it's 2023. Everybody has an iPhone, right? And everybody could be their own journalist if they want. And everybody should be their own journalist. I tell people all of the time, if you see something, take out your camera. If you don't like it, take out your camera and start videotaping. Get that camera rolling and make sure it's on video.
Amen. Oh,
that's what I tell people all the time. Make sure it's on video and get recordings of everything. Now, I get that it's a two-party consent state, Illinois is, which is unconstitutional in my opinion. But I don't even know. Maybe you would be able to tell me that your media credentials. Do you need media credentials? Like the Illinois State Fair, for example, I had to get media credentials and I was like, I'm not doing that. That's bogus. This is a Illinois State Fairgrounds. My tax dollars go to pay for this. I should not need media credentials to go up to politicians and speak to them.
Well, there you go. And who issues these credentials? So, the fact of the matter is that in the city of Chicago, and it sounds like now this is spreading to Springfield since they've seen how well it works. It will work keeping me from asking questions to Lightfoot in the waning days of her administration. Believe it or not, in order to attend Chicago City Hall press conferences, you need an official City of Chicago media credential. And if we were on camera right now, I would like hold it up to the camera and you could see it. I still have it. It's just, yeah, it has been deactivated, but, and I intend to get it reactivated, Kat. But what happened, but you have to, believe it or not, go to the Chicago Police Department and get the credentials from them.
Wow.
So here's the thing: if you and by the way, I've had an official City of Chicago media credential for over a decade. And by the way, I used to ask Ron tough questions about crime. I used to, and Ron's probably about the toughest person that's ever been mayor of the city of Chicago ever. And and he didn't try to revoke my media credential. He just, in many cases, he just didn't answer my questions. But at least he didn't try to take my media credential, for crying out loud. So at any rate, so what happens is you have to go through the police, the CPD, the Chicago Police Department, and then when you enter City Hall, there are Chicago police officers checking media credentials before you can even get on the elevator to go up to the second floor, which is where the city council chambers is, or the fifth floor, which is where the mayor's office is, and they won't let you on the elevator if they decide that your credential is not valid. So there's a great video that I posted, speaking of always getting everything on camera, of, I went to the most recent time, which was about a year ago, believe it or not, to the day, or maybe, literally about 1 year ago to the day, I went to get my media credential renewed, got the sticker the new sticker that says that it's valid through like 2024 or something like this. And I was walking into City Hall for a press conference where, ironically, I wanted to ask a question about the spike in police suicides that was taking place in the city of Chicago at that time. And what happened? A Chicago police officer who was standing at the elevator stopped me and told me that my media credential was invalid. This is all on camera. The Daily Caller did a whole piece on it. In fact, Tucker, speaking of Tucker, had me on his show that night to talk about the video, and I was barred from entering the press conference. And then that's when this whole legal issue kind of took off. Yeah. And I intend. My hope is to get my media credential and to get the answers and to hold Lightfoot and her staff accountable.
Yeah.
So
well, I said, I don't think that you should give up this ability to continue to sue them. It sounds like they're trying to hide something, and they might actually have some emails pertaining to you as a journalist, right? That could go somewhere. So I would not give up your right or your ability to continue to sue them. We
need our answers. And amen. And thank you for kind of boosting my confidence on that one. We've been trying to get these emails for over a year. They should be FOIA-able. If anyone wants to be an independent journalist, go ahead. Go and FOIA Lightfoot's emails regarding William J. Kelly, reporter William J. Kelly, and see if you can get them, because they clearly don't want to give them to me. That is for sure.
I'll try it out. I've kind of become a master here at making FOIA requests, and also they don't like giving you the FOIA requests when you ask for them, which is incredible.
They really don't.
All right. Well, William, we've got to go. Thanks so much for joining me here on a Monday. Folks, don't forget, it's reporter WilliamJKelly.com, feared and despised by Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson.
Now Brandon Johnson.
You can go check them out there. William, you have a great rest of your day.
You too. God bless you, Kat. Thank you.
God bless. All right, folks, we are going to be back talking about how Donald Trump is actually not going to be attending the debates. Good for him. He's not going to participate in those primary debates, and he's actually gone on the record and said Ron DeSantis is crashing like an ailing bird. Yes, he is. We'll be back. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Coming up in just a little bit, Bryan Callen going viral for explaining how the ridiculous cost of real estate elites, the reason why we're going through this real estate problem where the housing costs so much is because elitists are money laundering. And Bryan Callen has gone viral in this video explaining how they do that. Plus, Donald Trump not going to be participating in the primary debates.
In New York City, there are buildings, high-end buildings that they build, right? Like where the apartments go for $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $50 million, right? They're 80% empty. Do you know why they're 80% empty and why there's so much real estate in this country with high-end that's totally empty? Because people from China, Russia, South America who are doing nefarious stuff, they'll buy an apartment. They'll buy a flat in London for $140 million. You go, what? $140 million? Who would ever live there? They don't live there. They don't rent it either, because then they can't call it as an asset.
Investment.
Now what you do is this. You take that $140 million flat and you borrow against it. So now you take that money and you put it in the stock market, and that's how you wash your money, baby.
Whoa.
Yes.
The past 4 years is the problem. Check out the difference between 1995 to 2019 to 2023. So the complaining from us millennials started probably 2020, but this is why. So in 1995, the average house was $130,000. You put down 20%, that's $26,000. The interest rates were 7.8% back in 1995, and your principal and mortgage would be around $753. Now I'm going to save the average incomes for last. Now, 2019, $260,000, not bad over 25 years. It only doubled. So the down payment would be $52,000, and there was only a 4% interest rate. So the monthly payment for principal and interest was $993. So this difference was not bad at all. Here's where the jump happens. This is what, okay, 2023, the average home jumped to $419,000. The down payment would be $84,000. The interest rate was similar to 95, which is 7.24%, but that would leave you with a monthly payment of $2,283. Now let's go with the average incomes. In 1995, it was $29,000. In 2019, it was $56,000. In 2023, it is still $56,000. So in 1995, 31% of your income could be used for housing. You could get it into a house. In 2019, it was only 21% of your income. In 2023, It is 49% of your income, plus the cost of living, plus the cost of groceries. So the past 4 years is the problem. This is why millennials and first-time homebuyers are complaining now, because the disparity between 95 and 2019 over 25 years was not that big of a deal. It was
Joe Biden, he forgets the name of the island. He forgot the name of the island, Maui. What? He was discussing the Maui wildfires, of course, and Joe Biden, being the idiot that he is, he forgot the name of the island that he was discussing when addressing the Maui wildfires. So I don't think he's even gone there in person yet. I think he's supposed to go today at some point. But we're going to talk about that. Plus, a comedian claiming that he has solved who brought the cocaine to the White House. And the suspect, well, it's a guy who had hookers snort cocaine off of his. We'll get to that story in just a little bit. But before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about the ATF. Blech. I hate the ATF, and I know you do too. So the ATF, the numbers are out, and they're not good. The firearms dealers, they're pushing back against the Biden administration, and it's because they've been revoking licenses at unprecedented rates, causing these dealers to try to file lawsuits. And um, this is what's concerning to me. We've got mom and pop gun shop owners saying that they are no longer going to inform the federal agency, the ATF, about suspicious buyers because they are so distrusting of this government and their overreach. These arms dealers are no longer like they're sick and tired of it. They said, you know what? We're not even going to report suspicious buyers to you if you're going to act this way. So here's the numbers. Wall Street Journal's got them this morning. ATF revoked the licenses of 122 dealers since October. Since October. That's up from 90 last year. So it was 90 is like the top year, and that was under the Biden administration, and then 27 in 2021. Neither Trump nor Obama, their administrations, ever revoked more than 81 licenses since at least 2013. So this is unprecedented. 81 is the highest in the last two administrations, Trump and Obama. They never revoked more than that. Now we're looking at 122 dealers having their licenses revoked just since last October of 2022. That's a lot. And law enforcement officials think that the shutdowns are a good thing because the administration is no longer giving them a so-called slap on the wrist. Others are afraid that this is going to make their job harder because firearm dealers are a valuable resource in combating crime, right? They're giving you weapons to protect yourself against criminals. They help you in that way. So the ATF, previous to this administration, had a let's see if we can help you kind of attitude with these gun dealers. And the gun dealers actually took advantage of that. If they saw some sort of suspicious activity, if you go in to buy a gun and you're a suspicious individual, they would report that to the ATF. Now, the gun dealers were the first line of defense against gun trafficking. Now you've created this distrust between the gun dealers and the ATF to the point where they don't even want to report suspicious activity to you because you just keep going after the gun dealers, the law-abiding gun dealers, and we're beating an ally into submission. These gun dealers are supposed to be your ally, ATF, but you're acting as if they are your enemy. Now, one shop owner who said his license was revoked, his name is Anthony Navarro. He claimed that the administration is using minor paperwork errors to attack and really to erode the Second Amendment. Quote, we were making $1 million a year. Now it's less than $100,000 a year as a small kind of gun shop. And he said this policy is designed to be a backdoor violation of the Second Amendment. So they're using these paperwork errors or these minor paperwork problems to go after who are supposed to be our allies. Gun dealers are supposed to be our allies. They're the first line of defense against things like gun trafficking or illegal gun crimes. They're the ones who report it to the ATF if they see some sort of suspicious activity. But now they're not even doing that. So, quote from our ATF director here, Steve, he says, We've taken steps to hold accountable those few dealers who are engaging in these willful violations. Little pencil pusher Steve, ATF director, he goes, they're not going to have the privilege of being a gun dealer anymore. Why? Because they didn't cross a T on one of your $8 billion or 8 billion forms that you forced them to fill out. That's why they're cracking down. And the Biden administration, this is so blatantly clear. This is a weaponization of the federal agency, the ATF, to target and harass hardworking Americans exercising their constitutional rights. So he's wrong there when he says they're not going to have the privilege of being a gun dealer anymore. It's not a privilege, it's a right. It's God given. You don't get to tell me that I don't get to deal guns. I get to deal guns because God gives me that right, endowed by a creator. Okay? um, we have unalienable rights. Matthew Rosendale, he's a Republican out of Montana, and he wrote a letter to the ATF and the IRS when they raided this gun shop, actually, and they seized all of these background check forms. And they said, quote, in this letter, while we wait to hear more details and the rationale behind this raid, given the positions of the Biden administration, this raid appears to be an attempt to intimidate firearms dealers and owners. They don't want you to deal firearms. They want you to not exist. So this letter goes on. It says a pattern of intimidation and harassment seems to be emerging under this new director, Steve, the guy in charge of the ATF. This pattern appears to be orchestrated directly from the White House, as evident by the fact sheet released by the Biden administration, where they detail their plans to hassle mom and pop gun shops over minor record keeping and paperwork discrepancies. So they're going after these small little shops for no reason, and they're shutting these places down. That's what they're doing. I do want to take a break. When we come back, we're going to rip into Joe Biden. Scott is out today, some tech monkeys, but we are going to be working on those uh, here in this week. Our transmitter did go out in Colfax, so our frequency is not as strong as it used to be. But you can still listen online, cities929.com. Click on the listen live button. You can also download the app in the App Store. That's Cities 92.9. I'll be back on the other side. Good morning, folks. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. Let me know if you can hear me this morning on the live stream. Go ahead and smash that like button if you're watching. Share this out with your normie friends. Coming up, we are going to be talking about Joe Biden and how he forgot the word Maui when he was discussing the wildfires that were on Maui. So we'll chat about that, plus a comedian claiming he has solved who brought the cocaine to the White House. It's a guy who had hookers actually snorted off his dingle dangle. So, yes, there's video of that out there, I'm sure, on the Hunter Biden laptop, the laptop from hell. We'll be back in just a bit. egg producer? What? Megyn Kelly, she's under fire for going after Rachel Levine. Rachel Levine being a acolyte on the Biden administration. He's out there and he's saying that we should stop calling women women and we should actually call them egg producers. Yes, this is the latest. It was chest feeders, birthing people, and now they want to erase women and call them egg producers. And Megyn Kelly is just not having it. So she goes after Rachel Levine and she has a 5-word response. And it proves that she is not backing down. She is not going to let the left erase women. That coming up in just a bit. Plus, we're going to be hearing from Jerry Vogler for Veterans Corner. It happens Monday morning at 8 a.m. About 8 a.m., about 8:05. Yes, we are having issues with our transmitter out in Colfax. That one is down. We are on a backup transmitter, so you might not get the frequency. If you're out of Bloomington Normal, I've noticed has a pretty strong frequency. So if you're in Bloomington Normal, you can get the frequency pretty good. But there is a way to listen to Cities 92.9 all of the time. It doesn't matter where you're at. You could be in Alaska and you can hear the station. So that is the app, Cities 92.9 in the App Store. So you can download that app or you can go to www.cities929.com and there's a big orange listen live button. You can't miss it. So hit the listen live button. And as always, you can see me live in the studio on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. They will not shut us down. We have way too many avenues to bring you the information for today. Speaking of, I've got some information about Joe Biden, Joey. So Joe Biden, he forgot the name of the island on fire while discussing the Maui wildfire. Yes, let's take a listen to what that sounded like. This is embarrassing.
The Army helicopters help fire suppression and efforts on the Big Island because there's still some burning on the Big Island, not the one where you see on television all the time. The Army helicopters.
So we actually forgot the
help
name
fire
of the
suppression
Maui
and efforts on
Island.
the Big
Yes,
Island.
you heard that correctly. That's Joe Biden. And Biden, at least he, had something else to say besides a no comment, because when he was originally asked about the Maui wildfires, he said no comment. Hey, do you have a reaction to the Maui wildfires, Mr. President? No comment. What? So in his latest brain fart, it was flagged by the Post Millennial. They've got it here. Now, the Post Millennial, they were fair to President Puddinhead over here, and they acknowledged, quote, Joe Biden referred to the island earlier in his speech. It's just at this moment when his mouth needed to say Maui, he couldn't think of anything to say, and his brain was just going bananas. And, sometimes I imagine Joe Biden up there behind the podium and he's talking, and his brain, when he does a Biden or he like totally brain farts, this is what I imagine his brain is doing. Meow, 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 meow. Like that's what I think his brain is doing the entire time. I want to point this out. Up there on the podium when he forgot the word Maui, he forgot the literal island that is on fire. He forgot what it was called. He was bragging about how he gave $700 per household to the people of Maui to rebuild their lives. Well, Joe, that's not going to be enough because the cost of living in Hawaii is astronomical. And you actually gave the people of Ukraine, when you calculate it all out, $2,500 per person. In total, he's given $113 billion to Ukraine. In the week after the fire, he gave $20 million to Ukraine just in that week. And then he gave $1.2 million to the island of Maui. Maui, $1.2 million. That's it. That's all he gave to them. So the people on the island, the Big Island, you see, they didn't have TV, so they couldn't see Joe Biden's latest gaffe here where he forgot the name of the island because they don't have electricity. Oh. We're going to be back. The biggest mystery of the summer revolved around a bag of cocaine in the White House, and there's a comedian, and he's got a suspect in mind. So we're going to chat about that, and plus we're visiting with Jerry Vogler for the McLean County Veterans Corner. Hey, if you guys are watching on the live stream, can you hear me on the live stream? It says that I've got audio, but I don't know if I do. Testing 1, 2, 3. If I've got audio here on the live stream, please go ahead and send "You've got sound" in the comment section. Um, Now, we are having an issue with our transmitter, so if you're tuning into the actual frequency, 92.9, you're not gonna be able to hear, because, the transmitter is down. We're on a backup transmitter, so in Bloomington Normal, likely you will be able to get us in on your radio, but, if you're outside of Bloomington Normal, you probably will not have a whole lot of luck. I love you. I love you, Randy. We miss you too in Gibson City. We're going to be working on our transmitter, and hopefully that'll be up and running in just a little bit. So just this week, we're probably going to experience issues. I'm sure we're going to be able to get that hooked up. So coming up, Jerry Vogler for McLean County Veterans Corner. there's a comedian, and he's claiming that he has solved the case of who brought the cocaine into the White House. Well, the suspect is a guy who had hookers snort coke off of his. Well, that's coming up here in just a little bit on the morning buzz. There's a comedian out there, and I think that it's a hilarious. It's Rob Schneider. He was a Biden critic, and he's an SNL alum, and he claims he knows who brought the coke into the White House. So we're going to be getting to that here in just a little bit. Plus, you won't believe it. I've got this article, and it's about a Hawaiian official. This Hawaiian official, he was an equity obsessed Hawaiian official. He served on the Obama Foundation, and this guy waited 5 hours to release water during the Maui fires, the wildfires. Yes, let me repeat that for you. He refused to acknowledge the requests given to him from the water resource management. They had asked, for more water to release the water to the area's reservoirs so that way the firefighters could fight the fires. But he waited 5 hours to allow the water to be made available to the Maui firefighters at the request of the West Maui Land Company. And that's not sitting well with the people of Maui. Local residents, they are destroying President Joe Biden and the government officials for spending billions of dollars in Ukraine while Maui is in peril. They're sifting through the ashes to try to rebuild their communities. And I'm sorry, but Biden is an idiot. And he's supposed to be going there today. It's a little too late, don't you think? And we're going to be getting into who this guy is. This Hawaiian official who refused to listen to the requests placed by the West Maui Land Company for more water in these reservoirs so that way the Maui firefighters could drain those reservoirs and use that water to put out the fires. He waited 5 hours to respond to those requests. Why? 309-451-9299. We're going to be getting to all of that here on the Morning Buzz, but right now, you know him, you love him, Jerry Vogler from the McLean County DA. He's the superintendent. Let's talk about Army recruiting efforts. So they've had to get creative because their recruiting goals are not being met. So tell me a little bit about the creative ways the Army have been trying to improve recruiting for their
only about 25% of the American youth, both male and female, according to the Pentagon, are physically and academically eligible to join the military in any of the branches, especially the Army. As a result of that, the Army has done a number of things over the last couple of years to try to increase the number of people that are applying in order to get that 25%. However, that is kind of like taking a shotgun approach. This new approach that they've got is called the Future Soldier Preparatory Course. And it was launched last August 8th of 2022 at Fort Jackson, North Carolina. And this program has spent a lot of money bringing 8,800 young men and women to Fort Jackson, basically putting them in the military without actually putting them in, and exposed them to two different tracks of training. One is for the physical part, so they can actually meet the physical requirements, and the other one is academic, so they can meet the academic requirements. They can take both courses at the same time on those tracks. And it's been very successful because about 95% of those who have been part of that 8,800 people that went through this prep course actually were able to come in. That's a totally different approach in that it's looking at people who already want to join the military, but because of academic and physical reasons, they don't qualify. And this is getting those people already interested, eligible, and qualified to go in. That's a much better approach than the $15 million bonuses they paid out to a bunch of recruits, and actually going out and spending money to get people actually come to the door and apply. These people have already applied and are either marginal or have been denied. So this is a big step forward in being efficient and effective in this recruiting and sign-up process.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing because I mean, what are the dangers, Jerry, if the Army doesn't meet its recruiting goals?
Well, it's already pretty well kind of figured out that right now, with the number of people in the federal military and those in the Guard and Reserve and all the recruiting problems that they're having, we would have a difficult time engaging in two wars at the same time, which is kind of the limit on what the size of the military with the available equipment, all that sort of thing would require. And without that ability to fight in two places at the same time, we're leaving ourselves extremely vulnerable.
Mm. And you guys are doing some stuff here locally to do some outreach. The VA Community Partnership Committee, they're holding an outreach event at the Normal Public Library on Tuesday, September 12th. Grab a green crayon, folks, and write this down, from 9 a.m. to noon in the library community room. Is this going to be kind of dedicated to recruiting, or is it more so recruiting for American Legion, AMVETS, Marine Corps League? What's the purpose of this VA Community Partnership Committee and this outreach event?
Well, the VA Community Partnership Committee, which their primary force is to get veterans to understand and be aware of the different veterans-related type benefits that are available to them through the VA. And this program is kind of what we did earlier in the year with the Vet Fair out at the Interstate Center and so forth, and it's trying to make independent and very stubborn vets like me and others who don't necessarily look around and become aware of things that may benefit them as a result of their military service. Right now, they're in a double stage here. They're getting the information to promo the event for veterans and their families to come out to this thing on September 12th. But they're also recruiting for other organizations that also have an interest in providing services to veterans to come out. That would include all the veterans organizations like the Legion, VFW, and so forth. If they are interested, the vendors, that is, interested in being a part of the program, they should contact Debbie Terfructi, who is the outreach coordinator, at 1-309-827-4090. And she's at extension 47867. And they and I are really strongly encouraging veterans to go out and find out those things that are available through the VA for them.
Yeah. And, stop being stubborn, folks. Really just pick up the phone. And one more time, can you give out Deb's number?
Sure. Area code 309-827-4090.
4090. Okay.
Yeah, 4090, extension 47867.
Call that number, folks, if you need help, or if you want, if you've decided to stop being stubborn and get the help, because it's out there. They do a lot of work here in the community, folks. And before we go, I do want to hit this, Jerry. The U.S. Naming Commission was created by Congress in 2021 under the National Defense Authorization Act to direct the Department of Defense to remove all name symbols, displays, monuments, or paraphernalia. I love how they put that, to honor or commemorate the Confederate States of America. So what's going on here? Are they removing something from the Arlington Cemetery, or like the National or the Arlington National Cemetery?
Yes, they already announced about 6 months ago that besides renaming 10 military reservations, all in the South, that had been there since shortly after the Civil War, named for Confederate generals and other officials as a compromise to get the military to be allowed to put those bases in the South where training could be done all year long. The Naming Commission now has moved on to looking at national cemeteries, especially Arlington, because it's not under the control of the VA, it's under the control of the Army. In 1900, there was a lot of legislation went through concerning the National Cemetery and the fact that there were Confederate soldiers buried throughout the cemetery. In 1900, Congress passed a bill that said they will remove those Confederate soldiers' remains and move them to a different location within Arlington and be established as a Confederate cemetery. In 1914, President Woodrow Wilson, a very liberal type individual, actually approved the monument of 32 feet tall that had inscriptions on it, including to beat swords into plowshares, a biblical reference. And while some of the inscription on the monument talked about slavery in a way that was not nearly as brutally real as what was really going on, it was still approved and has been there ever since 1914. Now they're going to remove that. And the reason this announcement is coming out now is that the Arlington Cemetery Association, who is controlled with the Naming Commission, is having a 30-day open window for public comment. However, the public comment is only to decide what they're going to do with the statue after it's removed, not whether it should be removed or not. So the decision's already been made.
Well, and Jerry, can you tell me, your thoughts on this? Like, me personally, here's my opinion. I don't see the benefit of erasing history, good or bad, erasing history in its entirety. And we're talking about a monument, and I like how you put it, right? The statue wasn't really like giving a clear depiction of how brutal it really was. We know that it's brutal. You and I know now that we've learned history, but it certainly wasn't glorifying slavery either, this statue that they're planning on removing, right?
Exactly. And my understanding of Woodrow Wilson's intention in approving this particular statue had to do with the fact that the country was still very, very divided between North and South. 5 decades after the Civil War is over. And this is part of the reconciliation process to say, okay, we've got the Confederate cemetery now. Let's let the South put their monument up here, and we'll approve it. And that way they will be somewhat placated and be more cooperative to be united with the rest of the country.
See, and when you remove it, then there's no conversation to be had that was Woodrow Wilson's intention by putting that statue up there. I don't know, like, it feels like we're all a bunch of kindergartner kids pounding our fists and, screaming and crying over, things that were decided in 1914. I don't see where this is like this statue is going to bring rise to the South again. What? I don't think that's what will bring rise to the South again. Like, that's not going to happen because you keep a statue. Now, you and I having this conversation about the statue, this is beneficial because now we understand where the country was at in 1914 when it came to slavery and North and South and that division there, and what this statue was supposed to serve a purpose for. And we're able to have a conversation about it. But once it's removed, are we going to be able to have a conversation about it? No, because once it's removed, like generations after us, they won't even know it existed.
Yeah, and one of the things that really concerns me, kind of looking beyond the obvious in front of us, is the fact that the removal of the statue and the renaming of the forts and changing street names and that sort of thing that were in any way associated with the Confederacy smacks to me a lot of the novel 1984, where there was a whole unit in journalism that's responsibility was to go back and rewrite history so that it conformed with the present. For instance, if country A was at war with country B for 100 years and then they reconciled and became friends, somebody had to go back and change all the journalism that said they were ever enemies. And to me, that's a very dangerous precedent, because then what is reality? And while the Civil War hasn't been probably brought out, especially from the black side of the issue, as well as it could and should be, it still doesn't change the fact of what's occurred. And, what are they going to do next? Declare that the Civil War never happened and that slavery was never here? It would certainly be under that realm of obscenity to me that they could do that if they can do these type of things.
You're so right, Jerry. And thanks so much for joining me here on Cities 92.9 for our Veterans Corner. You have a great rest of your day. And folks, don't forget it. It's at the Normal Library. It's an outreach program that they've got the VA Community Partnership Committee. They're holding an outreach event at the Normal Public Library so Tuesday, September 12th. It's Tuesday, September 12th, 9 a.m. to noon in the library community room. Jerry, thanks again. And we'll be back, folks. This is the Morning Buzz on Cities 92.9. Morning, folks. Thanks so much for joining me here. Now, we are going to be getting into a conversation about egg producers. Megyn Kelly, she's under fire because she went after Rachel Levine. Rachel Levine has, done a round of applause for, I think it was some sort of Canada hospital where they have changed the name women, and they've gotten rid of that word and they're subbing it out for the word egg producer. So Rachel Levine coming under attack from Megyn Kelly, and her response is just gold. She is not backing down. She is not going to let the left erase women. We just had a great segment with McLean County VA Superintendent Jerry Vogler about how the left is trying to erase history. They're trying to take out a monument at the Arlington National Cemetery. And in 1914, Woodrow Wilson said, hey, we're going to put this statue up there. This is going to kind of be like a, hey, South, we're divided. We're very divided right now. And this is an olive branch. I'm trying to give you an olive branch here. We'll let you put up your statue here in the National Cemetery, which is a really cool bit of history. And now they're trying to erase that because liberals never operate in reality. They only operate in feels. It's always feels over reals. Feels over reals. So that was an interesting conversation we had. Now they are hosting a public comment about what to do with the statue, but they're going to host the public comment what to do with the statue after it's removed. So there's no public input into whether the monument should be removed, but only to do with or do with or to do with it after the removal. Like that's the only thing they're looking to the public for. Donald Trump, he is not going to be doing the debates, which is good. I'm excited about that. We'll get to that here coming up in just a little bit. Where are the children? 1 in 4 Maui children likely missing from school as classes resume. So there's going to be what? People that are just lost forever in Maui? The classes resume in Maui. It's likely that 1 in 4 children will be missing as a result of the fire that devastated the area. 3,357 students will be relocated to different schools due to the damage to the schools they were attending. However, only 400 students from the area that was burned have been re-enrolled into other public schools. So that's about 200 students have been signed up for distance learning. This is Reuters. They're reporting 200 students have been signed up for distance learning. Um, the schools in the area, the burned area in Maui, elementary through high school, were home to 3,000 students, and it's unclear how many of those students have been relocated, enrolled elsewhere, or deceased. So we don't know where the children are in Maui. 1 in 4 will be missing as a result of this fire that devastated the island of Maui. And, I was telling you before, in the 6 o'clock hour of the morning buzz, you can see me live in the studio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Yes, we're having an issue with the transmitter today. Our transmitter is located out in Colfax. We're off that transmitter right now, and we're on a backup one. So you're probably not going to get signal unless you're in Bloomington Normal via the radio. However, you can still listen at cities929.com, and you can listen on the app. You can download the app at the App Store. It's real easy. So there's all kinds of ways to listen. Never miss a beat. And just download the app or follow us on Facebook for more details and updates on how to listen to Cities 92.9. We're very sorry, but we're going to try to get that back up. It's a transmitter issue, so it's out of our control, really. It's just a matter of getting the equipment back up and rolling. Now, before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about the Maui fires and this Hawaiian official and how he was told several times via request from the uh, water land company, hey, we need more water for the firefighters. So that way we can put out the fires. Okay. So this guy, he waited 5 hours, 5 whole hours to release some of that water. So his name is Kaleo Manuel, and he's the former deputy director of the Hawaii Commission on Water Resource Management. And he declined requests to release that water to fill the reservoirs until the fire had already done the damage, ravaged the town, and then he finally released the water. Manuel, he's leaving his position. Yeah, I would say so. After something like that, not releasing the water when you were asked by the West Maui Land Company. That's the West Maui Land Company. And I mean, he waited 5 hours to allow that water to be made available to those Maui firefighters. The Maui firefighters wanted to fight the fires with water. Now they said in a letter to Manuel on August 10th that his commission denied its request to reroute streams in the hard hit area here on the island. It's Lahana. That's where this hard hit area of the wildfires was at, and they denied the requests of this West Maui Land Company to fill the reservoirs with water. So I don't like it. I don't like that the power company, Hawaiian Energy, I think is what it's called. 95% of the energy comes from the Hawaiian Energy, and they give it to the island of Maui. I don't like that they didn't de-electrify their power lines. Now, they say that they didn't de-electrify the power lines because they didn't have the infrastructure for it, which I do believe. It's the failing of complex systems. I've talked about that. That's what the Democrat Party is all about. They try to create all this complexity within our systems, and then these systems fail, and we're scratching our heads like, why? It's because these Democrats create such a complex system that nobody can keep up with it. And they were busy. The Hawaiian Energy Company was busy trying to create renewable energy out of thin air with wind and solar. They wanted to get off fossil fuels entirely, and they were busy trying to figure out how to power the island. They were going to be the first state in the nation to power this island with just wind and solar. And they were busy allocating all of their resources, time, and energy to try to create renewable energy, so-called renewable energy. It's so funny because when you actually look at, the carbon it takes to produce a windmill and to manufacture a windmill, it's really not all that uh, green. Green energy really isn't all of that. It isn't all of that like green. Okay, it's green because people make money off of it, but it's not truly green because they mine precious materials like lithium for these solar panels. But I digress. I digress. Not to mention all of the solar panels catch on fire and, fires releasing carbon into the air. Augustana College, the latest, Olympia High School. There's been Walmarts that have caught on fire because there's a faulty part out there that nobody seems to give a hoot about. These converters are faulty, but I digress. I digress. Not really all of that green, but they were dedicating all of this time to that. And then they let the actual infrastructure that works and that actually powers homes and they let that fail. And they weren't able to de-electrify those power lines. So a hurricane comes in, knocks down the power lines, starts up a fire. They weren't doing controlled burns. They weren't getting the brush out of there because Democrats think that controlled burns are big, bad, evil and they produce all this carbon, but actually it prevents things like this happening and it prevents death. Okay, controlled burns prevent death. And they said no to the controlled burns because mm, carbon emissions. Meh. So there you have all of these systems failing. And then to throw on top of that, the governor and the mayor, they were backing this guy who was some sort of emergency management director, and he was in charge of uh, sounding the sirens, the emergency sirens, and he didn't even sound the sirens to let people know that there was an emergency happening. So I don't like any of it. It just doesn't pass the sniff test for me. There's a lot that's going on I guess the president is supposed to be going there today. It's a little too late, Joe. And I don't like the response either. 700 measly dollars per household. Meanwhile, we've got Ukrainians 200 or no, 2,500, $2,500 per person. $113 billion sent to that country overall, to 100 million in the past couple of weeks. 1.2 million overall sent to this island of Maui. All right, I do want to shift gears. 1 in 4 children. That was one of the big headlines today. We've got 1 in 4 children, Maui children, likely missing from school as the classes resume today. So, yeah, 1,000 people missing still. Do want to shift gears. Let's talk about this comedian. He claims to have solved the case here of the White House cocaine. So, the Secret Service, they have the job of protecting the president, and they concluded in their investigation, we don't know. Like, here's the Secret Service, unlimited resources. They have the job of protecting the president, and they came up in their report that they don't know who brought the coke in. That kind of worries me. Can you really protect the president if you can't simply find out through some security camera, through some DNA, whose coke this was? But this Rob Snyder guy, he's got a suspect in mind, and he's a comedian. And, well, I'm just going to let you take a listen to his bit on this. As always, you can listen live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Here we go. Let's take a listen
We
to
may
Rob
never
Snyder and his
know.
bit on the White House coke suspect.
Close the case on the cocaine found at the White House. He said, we may never know where this came from. We may never know who brought it here. We may never know. We must close the case. We have no idea where this could have come from, who could have left it. Yeah? Really? How about the guy that had hookers snorted off his cock? Put it on a laptop. Why don't we start there,
Yeah.
Maybe ask him a few questions.
Yeah, let's ask him a few questions. Of course, he's referring to Joe Biden's second favorite son, Hunter Biden. Hunter is the son who moved into the White House this summer and has a known drug problem. Rob, I think it needs to be said though. Rob Snyder is claiming, without evidence, that Hunter Biden had hookers snorting blow off his dingle dangle. I'm sure the independent fact checkers have yet to find proof of hookers snorting blow off Hunter's dingle dangle. And even if there was video of Hunter Biden letting Hooker snort blow off his dingle dangle, it's probably Russian disinformation. So I do want to throw that out there. He totally made this claim without evidence. And I'm waiting on the independent fact checkers to fact check this and to find some sort of proof. Even if there is video evidence, disclaimer, it's probably Russian disinformation. There are videos, I should say this, of Hunter smoking crack. We have seen those, and those were found on his laptop. $75,000 dedicated to this detox facility. He was placed there by his dad. His dad paid for it. Even more embarrassing, he was drinking a bunch of White Claws in this video on the laptop from hell, and he was, pounding White Claws. Like, dude, aren't you a man? Shouldn't you be drinking something other than White Claws? But anyway, he was smoking crack. It was not cocaine. So we can't draw the conclusion here that he was the one who brought the cocaine into the White House, because he was not snorting coke in that video. He was just smoking crack. There's also plenty of videos of Hunter and whores, and him bragging to these whores that his dad was going to be the president, and no cocaine in sight in those videos. So we can't draw the conclusion, folks. We can't draw the conclusion that it was Hunter Biden's coke, okay? Because we don't have the evidence. We also have some, let me sift through the laptop here. We've got some homemade porn that he allegedly sent his father. That has nothing to do with cocaine. Yet again, I tell you, we can't draw the conclusion that it's Hunter Biden's coke because we don't have the evidence. No cocaine. Just videos of homemade porn sent to his dad allegedly. Until a reliable, legitimate news outlet reports undeniable evidence that Hunter Biden let hookers snort cocaine off his dingle dangle, we're forced to rate Rob Snyder's bit here as mostly false, but probably true. Do have to take a break, but when we come back, Megyn Kelly, she's an outspoken critic of the Biden administration, and she's going after Rachel Levine this time because, drumroll please, the Assistant Health Secretary, Admiral Rachel Levine, is replacing women with the word egg producers. Yes, so first it was birthing people, then it was chest feeders, now it's egg producers. So Megyn Kelly, she's going after this Rachel Levine dude who's posing as a woman. We'll be back on the buzz. 309-451-9299. You can also see me live in studio on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Be sure to download the app. We're having issues with our transmitter folks, so be sure to download the app and listen live from there, or listen live at cities929.com. Boom. Yet another reason why it doesn't pass the sniff test for me. So I'm on the stream now, so I can say say this out loud. I think that the state is looking to acquire that land. I find it very peculiar that the elitists on the island, their homes were not burned. Not a blade of grass was touched. Oprah's mansion in Maui. And I find it bizarre that a lot of these people who are missing are children. I just told you the statistic here. I think it's 1 in every 4 Maui children will not be returning to school today. Now, is it because they're deceased? Is it because they're missing? We don't know. The state is looking to acquire the land, the state of Hawaii, like you point out here, RT. I remember the state of Hawaii wanted to buy all the land from the people where the fires went through. So look at the reasons behind their wanting to purchase. I'm just going to say it. I have a theory. It might be a conspiracy theory, but I wouldn't put it past these politicians. All they really care about are these miners. And they miners on an island somewhere, okay, to rip off of the song Richmond, North of Richmond. I wish politicians cared about miners and not just miners on an island somewhere. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the missing people on this island are children. I don't think it's a coincidence that the siren did not go off warning the people to take shelter or to go out into the ocean. You know, now he says the reason why he didn't release the siren is because he thought that people would think that it was a tsunami and that they would go towards the mountainside because typically they sound that siren in situations of a tsunami. I don't know. I think that people, if they were to step outside their door and smell smoke, that they would put two and two together that, hey, maybe this is a wildfire. Uh, and they would book it towards the ocean to try to avoid getting burned, which a lot of people did. Um, I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think the Hawaiian Energy Company not de-electrifying those power lines, even though they were told, "Hey, you have to de-electrify the power lines by multiple weather services." Uh, I don't think that's a coincidence that they didn't de-electrify those power lines. I don't think it's a coincidence that this director I just told you about, Kaleo Manuel, I don't think it's a coincidence that he refused to listen to a request by the West Maui Land Company asking for water for their firefighters to fight the fire. He didn't listen, and he waited 5 hours to fulfill that request. Um, and he's now resigning or stepping down from his position. I don't think that's all. I don't think it's a coincidence. And let's just, I'm just going to say Maui is an island. Jeffrey Epstein had an island. And there's a lot of missing children on that island and a lot of mansions that went unburned. Um, that's all I'm going to say. You put two and two together, okay? Um, I would not put it past these people. They don't have Jeffrey Epstein's island anymore. Where are they going to go? Do want to shift gears? Let's talk about Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly going after Rachel Levine on Twitter. I'm so proud of her, and I'm excited because she is standing up to the left, and she's not letting the left um, really erase women, because that's what Rachel Levine is currently doing. With his latest, he's applauding this hospital that says that, hey, we're not going to call women women anymore. We're actually going to call them egg producers. And Rachel Levine is all for that. So we're going to get into that story. Plus, President Donald Trump announcing that he's not going to participate in the primary debates. Good on Donald Trump. And yes, Ron DeSantis is crashing like an ailing bird. I have very little sympathy for Ron DeSantis crashing and failing like an ailing bird, because guess what? Ron DeSantis's campaign is ran by a bunch of goofs, okay, to put it lightly. Not to mention, Ron DeSantis has done some shady things as a governor. I do like, now don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of what Ron DeSantis has done. However, he's done very little to address what he hasn't done in the state of Florida, and what he has done in the state of Florida that has hurt people, specifically siding with big insurance companies and not giving, he signed legislation that doesn't give people the ability to sue these big insurance companies if they don't pay out what they're supposed to them in these hurricane situations. So that's a piece of legislation that has really peeved off a lot of Floridians. I don't think that Ron DeSantis is even pulling very well with Floridians, his own state. I don't think he will win his own state, would win his own state against Donald Trump in the primary. So yeah, Ron DeSantis is crashing like an ailing bird, and there is no reason why, when all of your opponents, okay, Donald Trump sees this, all of his opponents combined, all of their totals combined, still he's beating them by double digits, and the Republican Party still doesn't get it. Why in the world would we have a debate when we have so clearly somebody that the people are backing? And he just says, "Look, I am playing on a way different level, and I'm gonna do an interview with Tucker instead." So yeah, really cool. Donald Trump, he's like, "Why would I participate in these stupid debates? I am like way far ahead than anybody else on that debate stage, and all of them combined, I'm beating them by double digits. Why would I go debate?" Donald Trump saying that Ron DeSantis is crashing like an ailing bird, and he is not wrong, folks. He's not wrong about that at all. And you look at the numbers here. Donald Trump, a CBS poll just out, These are legendary numbers. He posted this out on Truth Social. Trump 62%, 46 points above Ron DeSantis, who's crashing like an ailing bird. Ramaswamy 7%, Mike Pence 5%, Tim Scott 3%, Nikki Haley 2%, Chris Christie 2%, Asa Hutchinson 1%. You add all them up, you're still winning. He's still winning by double digits. The public knows who I am and what a successful presidency I had, with energy independence, strong borders and military, biggest ever tax and regulation cuts, no inflation, strongest economy in history, and much more. I will therefore not be participating in these debates. There is no Republican Party without Donald Trump. It's clear. Look at the numbers. Look at Mittens and Obama. I think Mittens almost lost Missouri. We were looking at the Republican Party. They were going to be a regional party, a Southern party. They weren't even going to be a national party anymore. Donald Trump came and revitalized the Republican Party. He's going to be on Tucker Carlson instead. So I'm real excited because this is a good step for independent media. There's no reason to play along with these primary debates on networks, on this news network. And he said this earlier in the year. He says, when you're leading by insurmountable numbers, and you have these hostile networks with angry Trump and MAGA hating anchors asking so-called questions, why subject yourself to being libeled and abused? Why do that? It makes no sense. Why would he give me one reason why he would actually do the primary debate. There's no reason for him to. Everybody knows his record. Okay. The debate is a job interview. The hiring managers are the American people. President Trump had that job for 4 years and excelled at it. He has nothing else to prove. Just saying. All right. I do have to take a break again. Man, this show is just going. It's flying by. This is the Morning Buzz. Yes, we have an issue with the transmitter. We're on a backup transmitter, so you might not be able to get the frequency, but you can always listen live at cities929.com, or you can download the app. Download the app in the App Store. I'm also live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble, so you can find the show there, and be sure to subscribe to my channels. That's Cat Peterson 929. We'll be back. Megyn Kelly going after Rachel Levine. I wanted to get to that story today, so we're going to be back. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much, streamers. If you're watching right now, go ahead and smash that like button. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's in the ticker at the bottom here, Cat Peterson 929. If you subscribe to that YouTube channel, you're going to get notifications about the show. You can even interact with me on YouTube. I tend to interact with the YouTubers a lot via the comment section. So I did want to give you these numbers before we get into the Megyn Kelly story. The ATF, they've revoked an unprecedented amount of licenses. So firearms dealers, they're pushing back against the Biden administration, which has begun to revoke licenses at an unprecedented rate, causing these dealers to file lawsuits or they're going to they're threatening to stop reporting nefarious or suspicious buyers in reaction to this government overreach that they are closing down mom and pop gun shops because of small little paperwork disputes. So according to the Wall Street Journal, here's the numbers. 122 dealers since October, which is up from 90 last year, and 27 in 2021. So this is a lot. This is a lot of licenses revoked since October of 2022. Neither the Trump administration nor the Obama administration has ever revoked more than 81 licenses since at least 2013. So we're looking at an unprecedented amount of revoked licenses from these gun shop owners. And the ATF director is out there. He's saying, we've got to make sure that we're holding these dealers accountable and engaging in willful violations. So that's how he explained this crackdown. Willful violations. This is the weaponization of a federal agency to target and harass hardworking Americans for exercising their constitutional right. Okay, then he goes on, the director, the ATF director, he says, they're not going to have the privilege of being a gun dealer anymore if they're going to willfully violate our rules. If you don't follow the rules, then you're gonna not have this privilege. It's not a privilege, it's a right. It's God-given right, Second Amendment. Okay, so you can't sit there and say we're not going to give you the privilege anymore. Um, like I said, this is a weaponization of the federal agency. This agency, along with the IRS, actually raided a little gun shop. It was a mom and pop gun shop. They seized background check forms, and there was a letter written by some Republicans. So good on Matthew Rosendale. He's a Republican out of Montana, and he says that the letter, um, or in this letter, he says that, it's very clear that the Biden administration, via their fact sheet released by their office or by the White House, they have details on their plans to hassle mom and pop gun shops over minor record keeping paperwork discrepancies. So make no mistake, this is not about keeping you safe. This is about closing up mom and pop gun shops. Um, it was not Hunter's Coke. It was somebody else's Coke, per the Secret Service unofficial. Yes. So we are going to be back here in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to the Morning Buzz. Be sure to smash that like button if you're watching. Want to get to some comments. No one will be watching the Republican debate. They will be watching Trump and Tucker. Yes. I'm very excited about Trump and Tucker's interview because we're going to get to see the numbers behind this. How many people tune in via the networks and how many people watch the Tucker and Trump interview. And I'm excited for this because this is going to show people that mainstream media, legacy media, it's not working, and that it never works, and that people actually want independent journalism and independent media. They don't want media that's beholden to people like BlackRock and these big advertisers. Okay. And Trump sees the writing on the wall. He knows that people like independent media. Why do you think Joe Rogan has the most viewership than any other like pundit out there? It's because he's independent. People like that. Egg producers? Yes, that's what they're calling women now. Megyn Kelly is not having it. So Megyn Kelly, she took offense to this because we've got somebody in the Biden administration, Rachel Levine. Now, you know who this is. This is the assistant health secretary. You remember Rachel. She's the dude that people were getting kicked off to Twitter for calling a dude. Like, you'd call her a dude on Twitter, and then you got knocked off of Twitter because the White House at the time had a direct line to Twitter executives, and they said, they're being mean to Rachel Levine by calling her a dude because she's actually a dude, but knock him off Twitter. So Megyn Kelly says, look, this is demeaning, and this is an attempt to erase women. So what is Rachel Levine doing? Rachel Levine is giving a round of applause to some sort of hospital in Canada who decided that they are no longer going to use the term woman or women. They're going to use the term egg producers. And I want to point this out. Levine was married to, at a time, an egg producer who produced two beautiful full-grown embryos. So, yeah, Megyn Kelly has taken offense. She posted this. She says, this is Joe Biden's representative, a man posing as a woman and not convincingly endorsing the idea of scrubbing the term women for egg producers. So jealous he can't be a female, he tries to erase those of us who are women. And Benjamin Ryan, this little blue checkmark acolyte for the New York Times, he was all big upset, and he calls out Megyn Kelly, and he's like, this is how Megyn Kelly speaks about transgender people. Then he references, of course, Megyn Kelly's tweet where she said that Rachel Levine is so jealous he can't be a female that he actually is trying to erase the word female. And I want to point this out too. All of the inclusive language that transgender people and transgender sympathizers demand we use is only directed toward women. Have you ever noticed that? Like, for example, birthing people, chest feeders. Now we have egg producer. I have yet to hear guys being called semen sprinklers or anything like that. I'm sorry, but why is this only directed towards women? It's because there's an attack on women, and they're trying to erase women. These people are misogynists. The leftists want to erase women. They want to delete women. So Megyn Kelly is not handling it. So she's not dealing with any of it. So she goes after Benjamin Ryan, this New York Times contributor. And she says, correct. And I will continue to talk about transgender people in this way if they're going to delete women. So, yeah, that egg producers, chest feeders, birthing people, she's sending a message to all of you. You don't have to take this nonsense from the Biden administration. The left can only delete women if women let them. All right. That's going to do it for us today. Wow, packed show. Like I said, folks, be sure to download the app, the Cities 92.9 app. That's available via the App Store. You can also listen live at cities929.com. We're having an issue with the Colfax transmitter. We're on a backup one right now, so just download the app and listen live online for right now. If you are in some of these rural communities, you might not be able to get the program. Like, love, share the video of today's broadcast. It's on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. I love you.